Yo, what's going on, guys? My name is Alex, and oh my gosh, do we have a lot to talk about. And we only had two games today. We started off with the Nets versus the 76ers, and then we had the Warriors versus Kings. And the Warriors versus Kings game had a lot going on just outside of just normal basketball, which we'll get into first, because this Warriors and Kings game was honestly probably the best game of the night. And this game really started off super ugly. I believe both teams had like 9 turnovers each in the first quarter. It was some really ugly basketball. I think it was like 23-19 in the first quarter. And then once we got to the second quarter, the Kings really started churning it up defensively. The Warriors had some really stupid turnovers. Draymond was a big part of that. There was one particular play where he had the ball on the left wing, and Curry was going to go through a screen at the top of the key, but it looked like Draymond was thinking he was going to come back and shoot a 3, or at least take the ball at the top of the key. But Curry just kind of kept going, and the ball bounced off a Kings player, gets a wide open dunk. So just a lot of really bad turnovers for the Warriors today, and that was a big reason why I think the Kings did end up eventually winning this game. It's because of that sloppy play, and that sloppy play really showed in the third quarter as well, because in the first 2 minutes the Kings were in the bonus because the Warriors committed 5 super quick fouls. The foul problems were definitely a big issue into why the Warriors also lost this game. Draymond Green went out with 4 fouls at the end of the third quarter, and Kevin Looney later on in that third quarter got his 5th personal, and that really hurt them, especially when we get into the fourth quarter and we have Draymond Green stepping on Sabonis. Now, obviously, I'll have the clip here on the screen. You'll see Sabonis definitely holds Draymond's foot. That is a no-go, which I'm happy that they actually gave him a technical foul for it. But the fact that Draymond Green, I think the first step that he has is kind of intentional, but that second step is definitely intentional, and that's just something that you cannot do. So I think he was definitely worthy of getting that flagrant 2 and being ejected. And again, because of all these foul problems, Kevin Looney was forced to come in with 5 fouls, and he did end up finishing that game. It shouldn't have even gotten to that point. The Warriors were close in this game. They definitely could have very well won this game, possibly if Draymond Green was on the court. It's really tough to say because they didn't necessarily have the lead at that point. But as soon as that happens, you're really forcing the Warriors to just have to change up their lineups. Again, Looney had 5 fouls, so if he fouls out because now he's forced to come onto the court earlier than he's supposed to, now you got to start giving Kuminga and freaking, I don't know, JaMychal Green some minutes in a playoff game, and that's just not good in my opinion. In terms of who really showed out, Curry had 28 points in this game, but it was honestly kind of quiet. He was 9 of 21 from the field, 3 for 13 from 3. Andrew Wiggins also had a pretty solid game, especially on the defensive end, which we'll talk about later on when we cover the Kings. But he had 22 points in this game. He went 9 for 19 from the field, only 2 for 8 from 3, and he had a really bad side of the backboard shot, left side in the corner again, that he missed in the game 1. But yeah, even though the Warriors did keep it close, their sloppy play just in terms of their fouls and also their turnovers really screwed them over towards the end of this game. But the one positive thing that did come out of this was Andrew Wiggins playing defense on De'Aaron Fox. When you look at that first half, I think De'Aaron Fox did kind of take a while to adjust, with Andrew Wiggins finally getting that starting spot in this game 2, because previously in game 1 he did not start. He was coming off the bench. And I think they kind of threw De'Aaron Fox off a little bit. Even in that game 1 when Andrew Wiggins was guarding Fox, you can definitely tell that Wiggins was probably their best option, because not only did he have that length, but he also had the athleticism to keep up with Fox. There's no one else on the Warriors squad that has both of those aspects. So Andrew Wiggins was by far the best defender. But once we got into that second half, De'Aaron Fox really started turning it up. There's a reason why he's most likely going to win the Clutch Player of the Year award. This guy was crossing over, bringing it into the rim, dishing it off, hitting mid-range shots. He was all over the place. So shout out to De'Aaron Fox. Also, shout out to Domantas Sabonis, because in that game 1, it seemed like the rim was just shut off every time he shot the ball. But in this game, he had 24 points, 8 of 12 from the field, 8 of 12 from the free throw line as well. And the fact that he was able to stay in the game after not only giving himself a broken jaw, I actually don't know if it is broken, but that replay of Sabonis bending down and hitting his jaw off of Curry's knee was kind of funny. But, he went through that, and then obviously Draymond stepping on his ribs. The fact that he played through all of this injury and still was able to, make a huge impact for this Kings offense. And even defensively, I thought he was pretty solid in this game. Much respect to Sabonis in this game. Malik Monk yet again showed that he was one of the best 6-man in the NBA this year. He had 18 points off of the bench, and Davion Mitchell also had a really good showing. He played some really solid defense on Curry as well, and he gave you 14 points. Outside of the really lousy play in the first half with all the turnovers for the Kings, once they got into the second half, things really started to turn around, especially on the offensive end. man, and they were playing some really great defense on the Warriors as well, with not only De'Aaron Fox playing defense on Curry, but also switching it off with Davion Mitchell. I thought they did a really good job on Curry and slowing him down, and they also kind of did a good job with Poole. Now, Poole, I think, was a lot of self-inflicted wounds. He had that really bad pass into the corner, which I believe went off of his foot or like knee or something. But Jordan Poole looks like he's going to be playing in China next year, so he did not have a good game. He was 1 of 7 from the field, only had 4 points. Now, looking ahead in this series, I'm not quite sure what to think, because my original prediction was that Warriors would win this in 7, and I'm still gonna stand by that. It'll be interesting to see like what could happen maybe to Draymond after the fact. Maybe they possibly suspend him a game. I actually hope not. I hope that doesn't happen. I think the flagrant 2 is good enough. You know, he'll get the nice fine for that. But it'll be interesting to see how things go, because Warriors obviously have been a pretty awful road team the entire season. So the fact that the Kings are 2-0 really doesn't surprise me. Now we're going to be going into the Warriors territory, and in my opinion, I think they should be able to get these 2 home wins and tie it up 2-2. And again, my whole thought process is if the Warriors can just get 1 road win, which they were saying the entire broadcast that pretty much ever since Curry, Clay, and Draymond have been together, they have won a game on the road. So my thought process is if they win 1 game on the road, I can see a very high chance of them actually winning this series in 7. So it'll be interesting to see what could happen. Next up, we're going to go into this Nets and 76ers game. It was the first game of the night, and in this first half, the Nets really did look like they were going to win. A big part of their strategy in that game 1 was to just double or triple team Joel Embiid every single time he got the ball in the post. And it didn't work in game 1. However, I think in this game, although they still had that same game plan, I do think they did change it up a little bit. It seemed like the double teams and the triple teams were coming at different spots, obviously different from game 1. It's always good to kind of switch that up. And I honestly think it got the best of Joel Embiid in that first half. Overall, Joel Embiid had 8 turnovers in this game, and to be fair to him, the last 2 turnovers were in the garbage time in the last minute, and the Nets were just playing super tough defense for just absolutely no reason. So a lot of those 6 turnovers came from that first half, and it was because of those double teams that the Nets were sending. A lot of the times Joel Embiid was just not reacting quick enough, and he would just kind of trip up and throw, a lousy pass because he was, off balance. And a lot of times he was just dribbling it off his own legs for really no particular reason at all. And again, I think Joel Embiid kind of got punked in that first half, but in that second half, he definitely started churning it up. He was definitely making the reads a lot quicker, which again helped him throw better passes because he wasn't having 2 people right on him as the pass was being sent out. He was sending it pretty much as soon as he saw that double team coming, which was great because not only was he able to throw better passes than he was doing in the first half, but he was passing it to open shooters like Tyrese Maxey, who had a really solid game. He ended the game with 33 points and shot 6 of 13 from 3, which was desperately needed, especially at that guard position because James Harden absolutely stunk up the joint, which is something I kind of expected because that's just kind of what he usually does, especially in the playoffs. James Harden ended this game with only 8 points. He shot 3 for 13 from the field, didn't even get to the free throw line. He did have 4 steals, but he also kind of counteracted that with 5 turnovers. Also, we need to talk about just like how bad PJ Tucker is at finishing under the rim. I don't know his exact percentages off the top of my head, but I swear every time this guy has an open look below the basket, he doesn't even hit the rim. He just like throws it up, it bounces off the backboard like a nuclear bomb and just it never goes in. So I don't know why PJ Tucker's so bad under the basket. Looking over at the Nets side, again, they were throwing those double teams and it was really working in that first half. And what made it so scary that the fact that it was working, because not only were the Sixers really stagnant and not hitting their open shots, especially from the 3-point range, Cam Johnson was especially important in the fact that the Nets finished off the first half in the lead. He ended up the game with 28 points and he shot 5 for 11 from 3. He kind of cooled down in that second half. He scored majority of these points in that first half, but those points were crucial in the Nets even having a shot in this game. Mikal Bridges also kind of started off slow, but started to pick things up in the second half, which was great because, again, Cameron Johnson kind of fell asleep in that second half. And Mikal Bridges was also being a really good distributor. He ended this game with 7 assists. One thing that I also thought was interesting was the fact that Nick Claxton only played 21 minutes in this game, and it had me thinking, oh, maybe like, he was in foul trouble and I just like wasn't paying attention enough. He only had 3 fouls in this game. So that'll be interesting to look out on because the Nets did play a lot of small ball today, so it'll be interesting to see if they continue to do that. they'll most likely have Cameron Johnson or Dorian Finney-Smith playing that center position. It'll be interesting to see if Jock Vaughn continues to play that way and not have Nick Claxton play a lot of minutes, because in my opinion, I think Nick Claxton is definitely essential, especially when you go against Embiid. You need that size, but Nick Claxton just might not be big enough to contain him. So it might be better to just be able to switch everything and not have to worry about Nick Claxton being on the court and just have some more offensive versatility. Overall, looking into the series, the Philadelphia 76ers are now up 2-0, and they're going to be going over to Brooklyn. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens on the road. Again, it looks like that they're just going to double team Joel Embiid every single game, and they're just going to try to switch it up. So we'll see if that continues to pan out the way it is, because so far it really hasn't worked. It only worked for one half. And it'll be also interesting to see if Joel Embiid continues to struggle out of the double teams, because again, he really struggled in that first half, figured it out in the second half. But if he continues to struggle after, a team makes adjustments and sends double teams in different ways and gives him different coverages, it'll be interesting to see how Joel Embiid not only responds to that, but even later on in the playoffs, because I'm assuming they're going to win the series. The next team that they're going to play is most likely the Boston Celtics, because they should be able to sweep the Hawks. And I think the Celtics are a way better defensive team than the Nets, and I think they have better personnel to actually double team Joel Embiid, because you got guys like Robert Williams and Al Horford, and you got some really great big forwards like Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. So it'll be interesting to see if continuing the double Joel Embiid is really just the right play for any team that wants to play the 76ers. But as of right now, I think Joel Embiid has done a really good job at doing that. That's kind of been my main concern, is how is he going to be able to perform, especially with teams doubling him. And I would say he's done a pretty good job despite, a lot of turnovers, especially in this game too. Anyways, those are my thoughts on the games of tonight. Let me know down below what y'all think. If you enjoyed, make sure to like and sub. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subs by the end of the year, so it would mean a lot. Anyways, I'll see you on the next one. Peace out.